So all of our computers, whether it's a desktop or a laptop, we're going to have our main desktop area that we work on. We also have our keyboard, whether it's built in a laptop or if it's separate on a desktop. We also have some way of moving our mouse around. You may have a trackpad, like what's built into our laptops. You may have a mouse, which would be sitting off to the side. Either one. Those are pretty common amongst the computers. On these computers, the laptops, we are going to talk a little bit about some of the keys that are on this very, very top row, because some of those look a little bit mysterious. We recognize our letters, our numbers, but then we've got those strange keys up at the very top.
I don't know how to go there.
I'm sorry?
This one is so Please, keys.
So there, well, kind of.
Can I just go there to close it?
So you can close it right there with the red button. Yep. And it's going to ask if you want to save anything, and you can either save or not as you choose. There we are. Good. Okay. All righty. Another thing to be aware of on a laptop computer, it's going to be on the sides of the computer. If you're using a desktop computer, it may be kind of on the back, behind. So on the laptops, it's going to be on the sides. These are the connection ports. This is where we plug things into a computer. So you may have different devices. You may have things like a backup drive that you use. You may want to put information on a little thumb drive and carry it with you. A lot of people have the regular USB, the big rectangular one we've all had for years. If we're looking at these computers, I'm looking at this and I'm going, it's not going to fit anywhere. What am I going to do with that? Pretty much any device that you would have, backup drives, cameras, memory cards, anything like that, there are adapters. And the adapters will simply pop into one of those slots, and then it would give us a place to plug something into. This one happens to be for Ethernet. I just grabbed it as an example, but there are different adapters available. So if you're doing anything at home, in the office, whatever it might be, and you've got a cable and you're looking at it going, where does that go? You can always, if it's possible, bring the device with you. If you can't, take a picture of it, bring it to us, connect with one of our team. We can probably figure out what adapter will connect that device to a computer. So I wanted to make sure we covered that, because a lot of people, again, have things like memory cards from cameras, standard USB that we've had for years. This is USB, but this is what is called USB-C, C for Charlie. This is kind of the new standard. So this has replaced those big rectangular USBs. Any questions about that at the moment? Yes, Lisa. That's a good question. So Lisa's question was, why would you need to back up if you have the cloud? On an iPhone or an iPad, iCloud, Apple's cloud, backs up everything. Soup to nuts, front to back. On a computer, it doesn't. On a computer, iCloud will only back up 2 real areas of your computer. Files that are on, I was looking up here, I haven't got my computer up here yet. Files that are on your desktop or things that are in your documents area. If you've stored anything in movies, in pictures, in downloads, that is not automatically backed up to the cloud. So making a local backup, connecting a hard drive to a computer and using something called Time Machine to make a backup, never a bad idea. That way we have the entire computer as a backup. Some people are like, I just care about my documents. That's all I'm worried about. iCloud will do that. But if we have things in other places, we may want to make a full backup using Time Machine. And you can do both. There's no harm in having a local backup and an iCloud backup. No harm in that at all. There's always a chance somebody can hack into anything. That's just nature of the beast. Anytime something is on a computer, especially if I'm saving it somewhere else, there's always a chance. Always. So the more secure we are, the less places we put something. If it's something that is password protected, that's going to be better. But anytime I take something from my computer and I put it, let's say, on the table right here, anybody can walk by that table and pick it up. So we're giving away a little bit of security whenever we store anything outside of the computer. Just good to be aware of. All right. Let's talk about a little bit of these keys up top. Let me bring my computer up on this screen so we can see a few things. And ta-da, there we are. Okay, so the very top row of keys, and this would be the same fill if you're using a desktop and it has an Apple keyboard. These keys are going to look very familiar. Each one of these keys has a number, F1, F2, F3, F4, and it has symbols above it. I'm not going to go through all of them today because there's still too much other stuff to get through, but I'd like to illustrate a couple of them for us. If I take a look at my F1 and F2 keys, they both look like they have a little sun on them. One is bigger, one is smaller. Those are brightness keys. So the way that I would use those keys, you're not going to see it on here, it won't change, but it'll change on here. If I use my F1 key, see how my screen is getting darker? So I may be working in a place where I may not want my screen to be really bright. Could be late at night, I'm finishing up something, I don't want my screen that bright. So I darken my screen. Now at this point, I can barely see anything that's on there. So if I needed to, I would use the F2 key, and I'm going to brighten up my screen. Depending upon what I need, bright or dark, dark or bright, I can change it. You'll notice as I start tapping that F1 key, these little boxes kind of empty out in sequence as I go. That's letting me know how dark my computer is getting or how far up I'm going in my brightness. So that's my F1 and my F2. We also have at the other end of the keyboard, F10, 11, and 12. Those all look like they have a little speaker. That is volume for the computer. If I was doing something, maybe I'm listening to music while I'm doing something, maybe I'm watching a video. It's 2024, we're all doing things like we're all on Zoom calls and Google Meet and everything. I can't hear somebody. I would be using my F12 key to make my computer louder. Morning, Catherine, how are you? Don't worry about it. If I go the other way, this is going to start to make my computer softer, quieter. So again, if I'm doing things that I'm like, I can't hear anything, F12, I go all the way up, F11, starting to go down. So I can use those keys for volume. Now, we notice there are actually 3 keys, and I've talked about 2. So let's imagine, Rodney, you're in your shop. You got your computer, you're doing something, whatever it is, it's making noise. Your phone rings. It's one of your suppliers. They want to know what you need for tomorrow's delivery. Oh, give me a second, hang on. Let me tap that key, and again, and again, and again, and again, and are you still there? I'm not quite done yet. Are you still holding? I'm not quite done yet. Oh, I finally made it. That takes a while to go all the way down. So, if I'm all the way up, my phone rings, I want to take that call and I want my computer to go shush. F10 will mute it in one keystroke. Now, when I hang up the phone, I want to go back to what I was doing. I can just tap F10 again and it'll bring my volume right back. So that's a little bit of how those keys work. There's some other keys in here. Again, we're not going to have time for everything today. I do have play and pause keys. This would be if I was watching a video or something. I could play it. I can actually pause it. I do have a little microphone there, which would be used with a feature called dictation. So if I wanted to speak to my computer, maybe instead of typing a document or an email, I wanted to speak, I can use dictation for that. So that is the one that is F5 with the little microphone on it. So all of those keys across the top are what are called function keys. That's the term that you would find if you were reading anything. It would talk about the function keys. So when you dictate, you can dictate into your notes. You can dictate into an email. You can dictate into Microsoft Word. You can dictate into Apple's Pages. You can dictate just about anywhere that you'd be typing. We just have to open up an application and then say, I want to dictate right in there. And we can do that. So it'll work pretty much everywhere. Pretty much the same as it does on an iPhone. If anybody's ever used dictation on a phone, same thing. Whatever we open up, we can dictate. There is one other key I do want to make mention of, and that is the key that is in the very upper right-hand corner of our keyboard. That key doesn't have any identification on it at all. It's just a little circle. That little circle is for something that is called Touch ID. Now, what is Touch ID? Touch ID is a security measure that we can put on our computer. So, Lisa, you asked earlier about security and things. So, let's imagine I had very important documents on this computer. I walk away from my computer. I'm going to go take a break or something. One of my colleagues, like Tana, comes over to my computer and she's like, oh, let me see what I can find. My computer is open. It's kind of like I left the front door to my apartment open. Anybody can just walk in. This little button right here allows us to use a fingerprint to unlock our computer. So when I was done, I could walk away from my computer, I can basically lock it, and then when I come back to my computer, I would put a finger right on that little circle that's right in that key. My fingerprint would be read, my computer would unlock. Now, some of you may have your computer set up where you put in a password. You come to your computer, the first thing you'll see is a little circle here with your name underneath it, and you'll have to type in my super secret password, whatever it may be. Touch ID is another way that we can get into our computer. It's a little bit faster. We still have that password in there. So if I had to have, let's say my friend Alex unlock my computer, I could actually give her my password if I wanted to. But I can have both. So it's a good idea to have some level of security on your computer. If you wanted the Touch ID, it's just quicker and more convenient. And that is in our system settings. We would set that up. We haven't gotten into system settings yet, but we will very, very shortly. How are we doing so far?
Great, excellent.
Good?
Yeah.
Catherine, you okay today?
Yeah.
All right. FYI, if anybody wonders why I knew her name as she was walking over, Catherine and I have worked together for quite a while. She's joined us for a number of different sessions, so it does kind of get to be that way. We recognize people. People across the table sometimes like, hey, how you doing? I brought you a bagel today. It happens. It happens. So I'm not expecting anything, right? I'm just having fun. But it does get to be that way. So if you do come for a number of sessions, you probably start to recognize some of the people you're with. So Catherine, and I will say this, I know Catherine. So I know what she's been using on her computer. I know how she's been doing things. So I always have a couple little things in mind that I would like to show her. So when I meet somebody for the first time, that's why I always ask what brought you in, so that I can see if there's something we can build in. If you come back again, I may ask you like, hey, what do you want to cover today? Do you want to take another look at something? Sometimes people go, that was so cool. I'm not going to remember that. Okay, we'll do it again. That's all right. So it's okay. It's all right. Go ahead, Catherine. Is it an email or a text message? Okay. Catherine, remind me. We will cover that, okay? All right. So once we've gotten into our computer, hopefully we've unlocked it either by our passcode or by our Touch ID. We're going to be on our desktop right here. Now the desktop is actually 3 parts. We have up at the very top, this little line across the top, This is what is called our menu bar. We're going to find out why it's called a menu bar in a moment. Our menu bar at the top. At the bottom, we have what is called our dock, D-O-C-K, like a place that we would put a boat or a ship, the dock. And then in the middle, this is just our desktop workspace. This is where we do everything. I'm going to start off on the dock. We're going to talk about the little apple in the corner. We're going to talk about a couple of the things that are over on this side, these funny looking little symbols. Then we're going to go down onto our dock. So, if anybody would like to, please follow along. I'm going to go to the little apple in the corner and give that a click. When I give that apple a click, you'll notice I get what is called a drop-down menu. That's why we call this the menu bar, because anything that I let my cursor sit on, I'm getting a drop-down menu. So, we're only going to talk right now about the little apple. When I click on that little apple and I get my drop-down menu, there's a number of important things in here. The first one is going to be About This Mac. When I go to About This Mac, it's going to give me a little window that'll pop up in the middle of my screen. It's going to tell me some information about my computer. This particular computer that I'm using is a MacBook Air 15-inch M3 2024. If you're using your own computer or even ours, you're probably going to see something a little bit different here. You may see a different, like you may see MacBook Pro, you may see a different processor, a different year. That's okay. That's individual to the computer that you have. Below that, we're starting to see some basic information, like what's called the chip. The chip is also the processor. That's kind of the brain of the computer. That's what does everything for us. So in this computer, I'm using an Apple M3 chip. Again, if you're using your own machine, you may see M2, you may see M2 Pro, you may see M3 Pro. There's a number of different distinctions, as long as we know that's where it is for the moment. I can also see my memory is 8 gigabytes. I also have my serial number. That's a very good one to know, where that serial number is. If anybody's come from the PC world, a lot of times on a PC, there's a big sticker somewhere on the computer that has all kinds of information. And if you're looking at a Mac, you're going, where's that sticker? That's where our serial number is. We also have something below it that's called the Mac OS. Now, Catherine knows this. There's quizzes at the end of our sessions. There's quizzes. Today's quiz is 20 questions. 75% is passing. I do not grade on a curve. One of the questions is, does anybody know what OS stands for? Operating system. Yes. So you'll do well on the quiz, Lisa. Thank you. So the operating system, that's kind of the instruction manual that makes our computer run. I'm using Sonoma 14.6.1. Phew, it's a lot of numbers. If anybody is seeing something different from that on their own machine, that may mean there's a software update available. That's all. No big worries. Oh, we haven't gotten there yet. We will. So that's what I'm seeing as my basic information here. Below that, more info. And if I give that a click, that is going to take me into a place where I have more information. Now this window is divided, I was going to say in half, but it's not really in half. A third, 2/3, a quarter, 3/4, whatever it may be. This left-hand side is referred to as a sidebar. Just so everybody knows, you'll see this in a lot of Apple applications. We'll have a sidebar on the left-hand side. That's kind of where we navigate. And then we have our information over on the right. So here, I can see some of this is the same. Click on more info. Perfect, you got it, Radna. Excellent. So, I know I have some of the same information here. It's telling me about my computer. It's giving me my serial number. It's also giving me things like my storage, my hard drive. So depending upon what computer you purchased, you may have 256 gigabytes. You may have 512, a terabyte, 2 terabytes. This is going to let us know basically how much space there is in our hard drive. Think of it like a file cabinet. Sooner or later, I can't shove another file in there. I got too much stuff in there. Our computer also needs a little bit of space. So here, this is a 256 gigabyte hard drive. I've got a little over 100 gigabytes available space. So I've got room. It's a good idea every once in a while, once every couple months or so, just take a look at that and see how you're doing. If you ever find that out of 245, you've used 240, that means our computer's getting pretty full. Don't panic. You can always come meet with our technicians downstairs at our Genius Bar. There are different options about what we can do with things. Doesn't mean we just have to throw stuff out or anything. You can always come and meet with our techs. We'll give you some options about what you can do with some files. Okay? As long as we know that's there. Now, while we're here, there's a couple other things we should know about. Some of you may see a little spot right in here with a red number in a circle. If you see anything right about in here with a little red number in a circle, that would be letting you know potentially there's something to pay attention to, like a software update. That's usually where it would tell us it would be. Hey, there's something new to take a look at. Let's see, Ratna. Yep. Software update available. So Ratna has it on her computer. Ratna, if you're okay, can I ask you to turn your computer on just so everybody could see that? So right in here, I'm not going to touch your screen, but right there, there's that little red number 1. Software update available. So you have it. Don't panic. You're okay. Catherine. Oh, just click on this little guy right here. Little gray gear in a box. Yes, please. Perfect. Software update available. Excellent. Good. You have it too. Okay. Got it. So, let's see. Let me take a look.
It's 494. It's already 446.
Nope. You've got a lot of space available. You have a 512 gigabyte hard drive. You have 446 gigabytes available. So that's available. So you've used about maybe 50 gigabytes or so. You're in plenty good shape. Now, a question that comes up a lot is, I just got my computer not long ago. Why is there a software update? So, this software update that you're seeing may have been released 3 days ago. Your computer may have been made a month ago. It was made a month ago, or whatever, I'm not sure. Whatever software was available on that day your computer was made was put onto your computer. It was put in a box, sent to us, we put it in our stock room, you came and purchased it. Between the time the computer was made and when you purchased it, Rodna, there was probably an update. So that's why it happens. So if you see it, don't worry about it, nothing is wrong. If you wanted to, and I would not for either one of you, please don't do this while you're here with us. But right there where it says software update available, if you were to click on that, it's going to say, cool, let's go ahead and update your software. That's not a bad idea to do that. The caveat on that is, while that software is being updated, you've got a very nice paperweight. It's not going to do anything. The software update's going to take over and it's just going to do what it needs to do. So I always think about things like when we're going to do those software updates. So Rodney, you have to submit all your bookings and billings and everything to the state on tomorrow, Wednesday. Don't do your software update today. Let everything finish. When you don't need your computer, that's when you do your software update. Not when you're trying to finish something on a deadline. Fair enough? Storage space and memory are different. Storage space is basically every time I add something to my computer. Now, what could that be? I type a document, save. That goes into my computer. I have my iPhone, I sync photos to my iPhone. Those take up space in my computer. So anything that we create and keep in our computer takes up space. Yes. So that's going to tell you right here, storage. That's going to let you know right here. Now, mine is a 256 gigabyte. Ratna has 512. Her number is different. So I know she has more storage space than I do on this computer. Okay, so sometimes this question comes up and it can be a little bit confusing, and that's okay, Lisa. We have storage and we also have memory, and they're different. Storage is where we keep stuff. Think about storage like your file cabinet. I create something, I open up the file cabinet, I put it in there. Anything I create, photographs, movies, music, documents, presentations, spreadsheets, it all goes in the file cabinet. Memory, I'm going to switch. Memory is kind of like a stove. Here's what I mean by that. I'm at home, I've got one burner on my stove, just one. So I put something on there, I'm boiling water for whatever it is. So there's my pot of water boiling. Ratna comes over and she says, hey, I don't know, whatever it is. I got some soup. Can I heat the soup up? No, because I have something on my one burner already. Okay, let me take that out. Let me get a stove that has two burners. Cool. Boom. There we go. So I got my water going. I got Ratna's soup warming up. Two burners. Phil comes over. Phil says, hey, I got the vegetables. Can we grill them? Darn it, I got two burners. I got the same problem. I take that stove out, I bring another one in. Four burners. So I got Phil's vegetables, I got Ratna's soup, I got the water I'm boiling. You can see where this is going. The more things I'm doing, the more burners I need. If you've ever looked at like a restaurant, they've got stoves that have like 30 burners on it because they're making dishes for all the different tables. When we're using our computer, think about using the computer kind of like the different dishes. So, I'm boiling water, I got Safari open. Ratna's soup, it's my mail application. Phil's vegetables, it's my photos application. As I start to open different applications and use them, I need more burners. That's where memory comes in. Basically, more memory, more burners. And that's going to allow me to do different things on my computer at the same time. Is that helpful? And now I'm hungry, by the way. So, Ratna, whenever the soup's ready, let me know, okay? So, that's basically the difference. Memory allows my computer to work on different things at the same time. Almost nobody these days opens up Safari, looks up a website, closes Safari, and then opens up email. We open up Safari, we find what we need, we open up email, we type an email, we send it. We leave things open, and that's okay. That's the way we work these days. So that's completely fine. And having memory is what allows us to do that. Good? Catherine, question?
Yeah, if we wanted to exit this, how do we exit? If we want to exit this, we go to this one or the
Yep. Yep. I'm not going to exit that yet because I do want to show a couple things in here. So, this area right over here, the sidebar, this area lets us change how our computer looks and behaves. Now, what do I mean by that? It's going to be actually two things I'm going to show you today. The first one, I'm scrolling a little bit, and you notice the sidebar moves. So I'm scrolling down. I'm going to find something called desktop and dock. So if everybody finds desktop and dock, just give me a little thumbs up just so we know we're there. Thank you, thank you. All right.
I got stuck here or something.
Let's see, Phil.
How do you get out of that one?
Oh, okay. You just hit the red right in the corner.
Oh,
You can do the same thing here.
oh.
And now if we just go to our little gear in the box, and then if you scroll down on this left-hand side, desktop and dock. There we
Okay,
are.
thank you.
Perfect. Thank you. Phil was already multitasking. He had a bunch of applications open. That's what they're supposed to do. So, desktop and dock. The dock, if we all remember, is this area across the bottom, right down here. Now, when I look at the dock, and if I go, let me see, where am I? I didn't click on it yet. That's right. There we go. When I look at dock, right up at the top here, I have two settings. For dock, I have size and I have magnification. Okay, so let's take a look at how we change things. You'll notice my size is about in the middle, roughly. I'm going to take my size and I'm going to bring it all the way to the left and make it small. So I'm going to grab that little slider, I'm going to drag it, and there's my dock. Okay, now, remember that quiz? One of the questions on the quiz is we have to name every one of these applications this size. Can anybody do that? That tiny? I probably can't either. That's really small. Now, I do have some clients that use the dock this small. Okay, either their memory is really, really good and they know what everything is, or they're cheating. I'll give you a hint, they're cheating. They're using magnification. Now you notice magnification has off, small, large. Mine right now is set to off. I'm going to drag that magnification slider all the way to the word large, going all the way across. Let's see if we see a difference right down here. So I click, I drag, and all the way up at large. Does that look any different to anybody?
No.
No, exactly. So what's going on? I've got something called magnification, but it didn't magnify anything. Actually, it does. Here's the secret. My cursor is right here in the middle, just so we can see it. Doesn't have to be there. It's just a little easier to see than floating out here. I'm going to take my cursor, and I'm going to go straight down to my dock. And when I do that, oh, there's our magnification. So as I roll over my apps on my dock, they magnify so I can see them. So my clients who like to have visual distractions minimized, they don't want all those big icons, they keep it small and they just roll over and they can see all the apps. And you'll notice it also gives us the name of the app on top. So if I don't recognize that icon, I know it's my contacts. If I don't recognize this icon, oh, reminders, okay. So, that's a little bit about changing. I'm going to do one other thing. I'm going to bring this back to about the middle, just so it looks normal. Okay, now, let's make this a little bigger so I can see everything. I've got something called position on screen. And if I look across, it's telling me bottom. Yep, that fits, that's where it is. Something that I hope everybody takes away from this session, whenever you see on a computer these two little arrows, one pointed up, one pointed down, does anybody know what that's telling us?
You could scroll.
There's
Wow.
choices.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you, Phil. There's choices in here. And if I give that a click, oh, I get three options. Bottom, which is where it is now, and I also get left and right. Okay, this is on the quiz. If I say left, where do we think the dock is going?
Left side.
Y'all are gonna do really well. There it goes. Boom.
Oh,
No
wow.
secret, right?
Yeah.
Now, for extra credit, where in the world do we think it's going if I click on right?
Right side.
Thank you, Catherine. Yep, that's it. Boom, there it goes. So, we can position our dock where we want it. I have clients who use it on the left, I have clients who use it on the right, I have clients who use it on the bottom. Wherever it's most comfortable for you to use. Now, let's imagine I put it on the right side. A week later, I'm like, boy, I thought this was going to be wonderful. I can't stand it over there. I can just move it back. I can come right up here and I can say, you know what, put you back on the bottom. There's almost nothing in here that ever gets stuck. I can change a setting, I can change it tomorrow, the next day, the next day, and so on and so on. So as you start to learn your computer, you may try something, you're like, oh, that's cool. 2 days later, you're like, oh, that's awful. Change it. We can change just about anything. How we doing, okay?
Yeah.
All right. So, there is, if you have insomnia, the manual will not keep you up at night. It is not exciting reading. It is everything you ever wanted to know, but I have another answer for you. And we're going to look at that in a moment because I got to get down here in a moment. So, now, I'm done with this window for now. I'm done with it. I do not have to do this next step. It's not required, but I'm going to put this away just to give us a clean screen. To close something, I'm going to use that red button. That window goes away. I'm going to use the red button again. Now, again, that is not required. I could have an application open. I can open something else. I only did it for clarity for us, just so we don't have a bunch of things here. We're going to take a look at some of the symbols that are in the top right, because this gets a little mysterious over here because we got all these funny looking things going on. Okay, now, just so you know, the first one, these two squares, that is what is called screen mirroring. Screen mirroring is actually how I'm getting this computer on here. Now, there is an intermediary in here that's helping me do this, and that is a little device called an Apple TV. The Apple TV is actually down in the base of this unit here. The Apple TV, it's not this TV. This is an LG. Apple TV, it's a little black box. We have them downstairs. We can watch things like Hulu, Netflix, etc. on them. I can also use it to have whatever's on my computer on the screen, or an iPad, or an iPhone. Any Apple device, I can use screen mirroring, and I can see it on a large television. I'm sorry, Rodney, you forgot what? Oh, okay. So if you go into your system settings right here, little gray gear in a box, and then we're going to scroll down until we see desktop and dock, and then position, and if you'd like it on the bottom, change your position to bottom. Good. And then you can close that. Yep. And you're not seeing that right now? Yep. You're not seeing that because it's actually hidden. Don't worry about it. That's just, I like to mention that because a lot of times when I go to people are like, what's that little square? So you'll only see that if you're screen mirroring, and I can show you where that is. We also have a battery symbol. So for those of us who are using laptops, that's letting us know how much battery we have. Now, how much battery have I got?
Full, more or less.
So I could ask everybody to give me a number. Be kind of fun to see if anybody actually gets the right number. I don't know the number at the moment. I can see my battery, it's about that full. Okay, that's not very specific. If I go ahead and I click on that battery, you'll notice I get a drop-down menu. My battery is at 91%. So that little drop-down menu is giving me some more specific information. So that, again, that's why this is called our menu bar, because anything we click on is going to give us a menu of stuff. So that's our battery. I don't think we need to talk any more about the battery, really. Okay. What about... I'm sorry? Could be. But this one right up here, this little symbol. Now, some people say that reminds them of a baseball diamond. Some people say a pizza slice, an umbrella. Does anybody know what that one is telling us? Wi-Fi, yes. That's letting us know we're connected to the internet. So if anybody, if you're using your own computer, if you do not see nice thick black bars, you may not be connected to our Wi-Fi here at the Apple Store. Catherine, you should be connected. For Wi-Fi, you should be connected. Yep. Now, why is her computer connected? Does anybody know?
She was here previously.
She's been here previously. Thank you, Phil. Yes. Our computer remembers wireless networks that we've joined. We go back to the same place. Catherine opens up her computer. Her computer looks and goes, oh, Apple, Wi-Fi. Got it. I've been here before. So your computer will remember networks that it has joined previously. Now, wireless networks are short range, maybe like 75, 100 feet. So depending upon your own location, if you're at home, in the shop, wherever it may be, you may see a long list of networks. Chances are that's the person up there, the person down there, the person over here, the person over there, etc. I was doing this session once, and I said, unless you live in that building right there, you'll probably never see your own network. And one of my clients says, oh, I live right there on the third floor, I can see my network. I'm like, I couldn't have planned that. But that gave me the little bit of like, okay, that works. But you should be able to see your own network. And when you take your computer back to a place it's been before, at home, at the office, you open it up, it's going to look around and connect to that network. Okay? All right. What about that little magnifying glass? Anybody ever used that before?
Sir.
Search, yes. Now that is called Spotlight Search. So if I give that a click, that's going to give me this little bar. Now, pro tip, and I do not want to admit how long it was before I figured this one out myself. If you ever use this little bar has a habit of popping up right on top of whatever it is you're working on. And you're looking at it going, great, I need to read what's underneath the bar. So, if I take my cursor right over to this little magnifying glass here, I can click and hold, and I can drag that bar wherever I want it to be. I do not want to tell you how long I've been working before I figured out that I could move it.
Could that be permanent for your piece?
Nope,
No.
it'll keep popping back up. You can't make it stay anywhere. But now here, I can use Spotlight Search to look for pretty much anything. So, well, let's find out. So, come on, where'd you go? Okay, so I typed in San Francisco. It's giving me some options. Now, if I take a look and I magnify, I know that symbol is real tiny. Does anybody recognize, whoops, where'd you go? There we go. Does anybody recognize what that symbol is? Safari, yeah. That would take me to a Safari search for San Francisco. Maybe I wanted to find out things about the San Francisco 49ers or the San Francisco Giants. Those are the sports teams out there. The San Francisco Tape Music Center. Other things, there's little bits of documents and stuff and everything. There's images, websites. So Spotlight actually does two things. It looks out here in the big bad world, and it starts to look inside our computer as well for anything that has those words San Francisco in it. So that's why I'm starting to find things like messages. There's a mail message from Stella. It's about San Francisco. If I give that a click, Stella. If I give that a click right here, it opened up my mail application, and that's the email about, oh, look at that, San Francisco.
Oh, wow.
So the computer found it by looking for those words inside the computer. So you can use Spotlight for two things, outside and inside, both. Is that cool?
Yeah.
These images,
Yeah.
really,
Those images, they're coming off the web. So if I were to click on one of those images, and then I could open it up in Wikipedia, and that's giving me like the San Francisco skyline, and I could open it from here. So that's kind of what Spotlight does for us. Spotlight is a quick and easy way to find things on our computer. Yes?
Suppose you had a photo in your photo library that had labeled San Francisco. Would it pull that up also?
If I had given it a caption or something, yes. At the moment, We're getting there, and with Apple Intelligence coming up in
Yeah.
the fall, we may get there.
Yeah.
Haven't seen it yet. But like if I took a picture of a building and it was the San Francisco Bakery, I don't think it'll find that yet. But if I actually put a caption in the photograph, basically I said, this photograph was taken at the San Francisco Bakery, it should find that, yes. Yeah. But with the next operating systems with Apple
Eventually,
Intelligence,
right.
maybe it might. Again, we haven't seen it all yet, so that'll be coming in the fall. So, great question. May I ask a first name?
I'm Doug.
I'm sorry?
Doug.
Doug? Okay. So let's see. We've got Rodna, Phil, Doug, Catherine, Lisa.
Well
Did I
done.
get everybody?
Well
Yeah.
done.
Good. And my name is Hank. Thank you. And welcome. All right. Okay. Now, a couple other things to look at while we're here. The next one that I've got, sometimes people will look at this and they say, it looks like two switches. I've had people say it looks like two little pills sitting on top of each other. This is what is called control center. Now, I'm only using those words because if you look up anything, it may say, hey, check for that in control center. So, what is control center? If I give that a click, it's giving me some things that I can do. My control center, this is my connections up here, so am I connected to Wi-Fi, etc. It's giving me the ability to turn on something called focus. It's also letting me know I'm screen mirroring. That's where my two little squares are. That's where they're popping up here, Rodney. So you should see if you're in control center, you should have one for screen mirroring. Now, focus, I do want to just mention that a little bit. Focus is basically, I want to concentrate on what I'm doing and I want everybody to leave me alone. Now, we're all friends here at this point. Let's imagine if Lisa's doing something on our computer and I tap her on the shoulder and I say, it's sunny outside. She's like, okay, I got it, thank you. She's doing something and I go by, Lisa, a cab went by. Oh, thank you, I got it. Tap her on the shoulder again. Hey, the sun's really bright now. Eventually she's going to look at me and say, would you leave me alone? Which I wouldn't blame you. That's what focus does for us. Again, it's 2024. We're all probably used to being on things like Zoom calls. And sometimes your computer's going boing, boing, like you got a text message, you got an email, you got a notification, you got this, you got
Oh,
that.
wow.
I can say to my computer, I can turn on focus, and I can say, everybody leave me alone for a little while. And if I were to turn that on, I'm not going to get notified of new email messages. I'm not going to get notified about text messages. They're still coming in, just I'm not tapping Lisa on the shoulder. I'm just very quietly like putting them on the desk for her, so when she's done, she could take a look at it. That's what focus is. It's a really great feature. You have to get something done. You don't want to be bothered by it. Leave me alone. Turn focus on, and then when you're done, you can turn it right back off. So just very handy not to be bothered. That is all in our control center. And then finally, up here, we've got that little multicolored circle. I know it's real tiny, but has anybody ever seen anything maybe that kind of looks like that? If anybody has an iPhone or an iPad, it might look familiar. That is our little friend Siri.
Oh,
So Siri is available on a Mac. Now, Siri can do things for us just by clicking on little Siri right here. Set a timer for 3 minutes.
3 minutes. Counting down.
I have a timer set. I'm typing something and I'm not sure how to spell a word. How do you spell supercalifragilisticexpialidocious?
Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious. S-U-P-E-R-C-A-L.
By the way, that is the way Disney spells it. I've checked it. So I can ask Siri to do things like that. I can also ask her to do things like open photos. Ta-da! Can it translate? There's ways to translation. If I were to copy something, there are ways I can translate it. If I were to have somebody speaking, no, not at this point. Maybe a little bit in the future. Doug,
I have used what do we call this?
Siri?
Siri.
Yes.
When you just say, how do you say hello in Russian?
Yes.
It will give you an answer.
Yes. That it will do. So, how do you say hello in Russian?
In Russian, hello is.
No, she will actually
Привет.
speak that.
She speaks it?
Привет.
Oh, okay.
So, yes, she won't do full translations. Like, I can't read Dostoevsky translated in English, but she'll help me with things like this. Yes. Yep. And with Apple Intelligence, I'm assuming more to come on that. Yes, Rodney. So, we may have to actually turn it on your computer. It may not be turned on by default. And that's okay. We can do that. There is a setting. I'm in my system settings. And there is one right here, Siri and Spotlight. So you may find it right in there, Rodney. It may just have to be turned on. All right, so that's a little bit about what's going on up in our menu bar. How's our time? We start at what time? 10:30? I'm gonna run a little bit over. If anybody has an appointment and they have to leave, that's okay. If you all want to stay for a few more minutes, I'm gonna keep going. Yes, Doug.
Could I take advantage of the situation? We were looking at the control center. There's a terrific feature on the control center. I wear hearing aids, and it's called Live Listen.
Oh, I love Live Listen. Yeah.
And I'm using Live Listen right now.
Oh, excellent. I love that. Yes.
And what it does is it's converted my iPhone into a microphone because I can't hear what he's saying.
Yep.
But by putting it right here in front of the speaker, it comes out of the speaker, it goes into here, and gets transmitted Bluetooth directly into my hearing aid.
Yep.
And I hear him crystal clear.
There are so many accessibility features. I teach most of the accessibility sessions in here for vision, hearing, motion, and cognitive. There's so many. I could start now, if the sun to go down, I'd still be going. So I do want to cover a couple more things. Okay. Now,
Found it.
I'm sorry?
I found it. It's not bringing it.
So let's take a look at that as we wrap up, Radna. I do want to make sure to cover a couple things while we're all still together. So I'm going to leave these applications here for a moment because we talked about using multiple applications. So I've opened up Photos, I have my system settings open. I'm going to come down and I'm going to open up Safari. And then I also do want to talk about this little square with all the little squares in it. So if I open up Safari, now Safari is our internet browser. Takes us to the internet. And there's basically two things I can do while I'm here. One of them is in this address bar, if I know the address. And when I say address, I mean a web address, not a street address. We are on apple.com right now. I'm going to type in another web address. P.S. I am not recommending anything. It's just short to type. So if I were to type in abc.com, that's our television network. And if I were to click, that's going to take me into ABC's webpage. Because I know their website, abc.com. So I've gone in there. I've done things like that. I can go to any website that I would want. I know it's something like ebay.com. And I can go into eBay. So I'm going to websites because I know the name of the website. What if I was looking for something and I didn't know the name of a website? I want to find something. I want to maybe find a recipe. So I'm going to type something up here. Let's see if I can find a recipe. Okay. So I typed in something up there. Hopefully my spelling is all right. Let's find out. There we are. So I typed in something. Recipes. Now, that's a strange word up there. Catherine, I think you might know that word. Look at this. So I want to find recipes for how to make this. Now, I'm using Safari. But does anybody see a very familiar word on this screen? Like maybe right there? Google, yes. So Safari is getting me to the internet. Google is working with me to help perform that search. So people will say, oh, if I open Safari, I've got to go to Google and then I can search. Nope. We can shortcut that process. As soon as I open Safari, if I type in something like a question, if I want to find a recipe, if I want to find anything, I can just type it right in here, and then that's going to give me Google search results. So from right in here, I could look at any of the recipes I may want. Helpful? Because a lot of times people, they'll open up Safari, they'll type in Google, they'll go to Google, then they'll type something in. I just take the one step out of the middle. I'm using Google right here. Okay, now I have Safari open. I also have a couple other applications open. There's my system settings and photos are open. They're kind of behind us. Think about it almost like I stack books on a table. Now, I want to be able to see my photos for a moment. Well, I can grab Safari up here in the gray. I can start to drag that. Oh, now I got system settings. I can drag that. That's very inefficient, isn't it? Starting to move things around. What about if I just did that? And everything just spread apart. Now, I'm going to make it a little more complicated.
What did you
I'm going to show you in a moment. So I'm going to make this a little more complicated because I want to open up messages in mail. I'm opening up messages for something Catherine asked about, and I got mail open. So I got a whole bunch of things open. And now I spread them all out. The trick that I am using to do that is the F3 key on my keyboard. F3. So if I have multiple windows open, multiple applications, all I have to do is tap that F3 key. Then I could click on whatever application I want to come to the top of the stack. So if I wanted to look at photos, I click, photos is on the top of the stack. Oh, that's the photograph. So now I want to go into my email. I'm going to use that F3 key again. Everything spreads apart again. I can now click on my email right over here. Great, there it is. Oh, now as I'm writing that email, I want to go back to that Lugamadas recipe. I use that F3 key again. I can move over to Safari, give that a click, and that comes to the top of the stack. So that's another one of those function keys that can really, really help us out. No matter how many applications I have open, I can do that. They're going to get a little smaller, but I can have them all open. Now, I said I could do it with the F3 key. Okay? Now, we know the F3 key is right up here. Okay? So keep your eye on that F3 key. I feel like I'm going to be a magician doing this. Did anybody see me? I like that, Doug. Did anybody see me touch that F3 key? Because this is actually what is called a gesture that I can use on my trackpad. So if I click on an application, just a little brush. 4 or either one, 3 or 4, and that'll work just fine. So I can just basically brush up on my trackpad, and if I brush down, it brings them all back together. If I brush up, I can then click on another application. So that's another way for me to move things around. I can either use the F3 key, or I can use 3 or 4 fingers. Either way. Either way. So that's helping me kind of manage my open applications. Because remember, we said we don't have to close things. I can use my computer and I can have a whole bunch of stuff open at the same time, and I can just take a look and be like, okay, there's the photo I want. Now, let's go ahead and let's take a look at the email. Let's pop over here to Safari. Let's come down here to messages. I can just go back and forth all day depending upon what I'm using. And I'm just using either that F3 or that little brush.
You should remember 3, F3 and 3.
Yep. So it's funny, I actually had a client, and these are changeable settings. I had a client who bought a computer, came back in and said, I can't do that. My computer's broken. His name was Phil. This is an actual true person. Phil was 6'7" the last time I saw him. It's probably still about that. Phil was born like this. He has no pinkies. He was born that way. So he's there and he's like, I can't do it. Phil, let's take a look at something. We changed it on his computer to allow 4 and 3. He's got 3. He's up and down and things are flying. Happy as a clam. That's the way he was born. We can change the computer to work different ways. Now, while we're here, I do want to answer a question. I have messages. How did I get that? Messages is this little guy right down here. Yes, Catherine. Oh, you can close that. Yep, just click back on your desktop. Right there. Just a little click on this side. And now go to the red button. There it is. You got it. Okay, good. Now, I know Catherine had asked a question about deleting messages. Messages is this little green one right down here. So, I've got this whole conversation going with this person, Amy, Andrew, and Yumi. We're all texting back and forth. If I want to get rid of something, I put my cursor on it. I'm going to click with 2 fingers. For you, Catherine, on the right side of your mouse. The right side. And that's, so right on the message. And then, yes. And then I could delete a message. So that is a way that I can delete something. Okay, now, I did want to mention something else at the moment. I'm sorry?
Easier than I thought.
Yep, I had you, don't worry. Okay, now,
One of these messages I might have
these are on our computers for demonstration. Okay, so we've downloaded applications. I want to make sure to cover this. So I know like there's been some questions about things like Microsoft Word, Adobe Acrobat. So I get the application, I put it on my computer, I don't see it down here on my dock. But I thought I put it on my computer. Where is it? One thing that we haven't talked about is this little box right over here that has all these little squares in it. This is what is called Launchpad. And if I give Launchpad a click, for anybody who has an iPhone or an iPad, this probably looks pretty familiar. These are the icons for all the applications that we would have. And you notice there's things like GarageBand that well, actually it is there, sorry. What have I got? Let's see, Home. I don't have that down here anywhere. So if I'm ever looking for something and I don't see it on the dock, I can use this little guy right here, Launchpad, and I can see all the applications that are on my computer. Now, what if I'm looking at this screen and I still don't see the application? If I were on an iPhone, I'm looking at my screen, I don't see the app I'm looking for, where might I look for the app? Where might it be? Not Finder.
Spotlight?
Don't need Spotlight. What about if I'm looking at something on my phone and I just go to another screen? If anybody has multiple screens of apps on their phone, you can slide across and see it. Now, on this computer, there's 2 screens. There's 2 dots. So my cursor is just sitting right here. I've got more apps. 2 fingers, I just slide across with 2 fingers, left or right. Now, when you buy a computer, when you first buy it, you may have 1 screen, and that's okay. If you start to download apps, you may have 2 screens. You may have 3, you may have 4, you may have 5, you may have 6. Depends on what you need. So you can always find any of your apps right in Launchpad. If you have multiple screens, there is also a search. So if I was looking for something, like if I wanted to find the dictionary, I can start typing, and that will bring me my dictionary. So I know I have it in there. So if you're ever looking for an app and you can't find it, always go to Launchpad. And I do have that search right up here. Doug, you have a question?
I suppose I found the app on the Launchpad, but I'd rather have it down below. Where I can,
Thank you
how
for
do I
asking
move
that
it?
question. That's exactly where I was going next. So let's imagine for a moment, where's my dictionary? Which screen is it on? Yes, we can do both. So Doug is writing something.
How about the clock?
The plot? I was going to put dictionary, but which one's
Right, bottom center.
that one? Okay. Doug wants the clock on his dock. We can do that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click and hold. I'm going to drag the clock down. Now, when I do that, I have to be a little bit specific. Right now, let's imagine I've got a suitcase and I want to put it right here between Lisa and Catherine. It's probably not going to fit. So what would I have to do? Maybe ask very politely, thank you, Rodney, I saw that. I might say, Lisa, could you move a little to your left? Catherine, could you move a little to your right? They're going to move over a little bit and give me a space. Let's see if our apps do the same thing. So I'm going to take the clock and I'm just going to move it right down between iMovie and GarageBand, right down here. And as I do that, let's see if our apps are polite. So I'm going to click and hold on the clock, drag down. Oh, now here, nope, not going to happen yet. Oh, now it will. Now it will. So our apps are very polite. And if I like, all I have to do at this point, like Doug. Now, it's going to be up here always, Doug. But this, if I come out of my Launchpad, now I have the clock available on my dock. Now, let's imagine for a moment that I've decided I do not need GarageBand. GarageBand is a way that we can make audio, but maybe I don't need that right now. So the same way that I brought something down onto my dock, I'm going to take GarageBand, I'm going to lift it off my dock. Now I have to do this a little bit quickly. Has anybody ever driven a manual shift car?
Yeah.
Brake and clutch and gas, you got to
Yeah.
get them all going at the same
Yeah.
time. Same kind of thing. So I'm going to take GarageBand, which is right here, click and hold and drag, and I move it up about halfway, and notice a word pops up right above that GarageBand icon. Remove. And if I do that, it's gone. Where to go?
That's what I'm
Where to go? I go to my Launchpad,
You feel good.
there it is. And if I've decided I want it back, so I can do the same thing as before, I can just drag it right down, find a spot, let it go, and it's back on my dock. So depending upon what we're doing, we can add or remove from our dock. I have clients that have Safari and Mail on the dock, and that's it. They've taken everything else off. I have clients that have like so many apps on the dock. It really depends on what's going to be the best for you. If you find an app that you use all the time, put it on the dock. If you're looking at this going, I've never used that, take it off the dock. It doesn't go anywhere. It's kind of like taking an appliance off my kitchen counter and putting it in the pantry. I'm not using it. I don't need it on the counter. I'm just going to put it away.
So these are all free apps. You add on your phone and have to.
Great question. So this folder right here called Other, that's where you are, Lisa. These are what are called utilities. These are small apps that do one thing. These are not like apps that you would get on your phone. As our operating systems get closer and closer and closer together, more apps from an iPhone or an iPad you can get on your Mac. But you may still have to do things like go to a website. So if I was going to go, let's say I wanted to watch Amazon Prime video. I don't have an app for it. I would go to amazonprime.com and I would log in. So many things on a computer, you're not going to have the app the way that you're used to on an iPhone or an iPad. But you'll be able to get to it by going to the website. So they're coming closer together. There's more things that are kind of bridging the gap now. We're not quite there yet. Good question. All right. How do you get out of it? So to get out of something, you can just take your cursor and just put it somewhere outside that folder. Just click and it'll close up the folder. Perfect. And then to get out of this view right here, my cursor's just sitting here. It's not on anything. And if I just click, it'll take me right back. All right, folks?
Right.
Phew. I think that's about enough for today. My goodness, that's all yes, Catherine?
I can't get out of this.
What can't you get out
I'm
of?
right clicking. Right.
Yeah.